And welcome to Past Blast. On today's episode, we're going to be talking about 34 Seconds of Hell, the Hindenburg disaster, fire in the sky. It was a ship in the sky, a floating palace longer than 3 football fields, rising above the clouds with grace and grandeur. To step aboard the Hindenburg was to step into the future. At least, that's what everyone believed. May 1937, the world stood on the edge of change. In just a few years, war would engulf Europe. But for now, people wanted hope. They wanted spectacle and speed. And nothing embodied that more than the great German airships. The Hindenburg was the largest of them all. Nearly 800 feet long, gleaming silver with swastikas painted on her tail fins. A reminder that she was both a marvel of engineering and a tool of Nazi propaganda. Inside the ship was a world of comfort. A dining hall with white linens and crystal glasses, a lounge with a grand piano, promenades with windows stretching floor to ceiling, giving passengers panoramic views of the Atlantic below. To the wealthy travelers who could afford a ticket, this was luxury at 600 feet in the air. Among the passengers that spring were families, businessmen, journalists, and even children. One passenger, Margaret Mather, was a young American journalist returning from Europe. Another, Werner Franz, was just 14 years old, a cabin boy working his first season on the mighty airship. For some, the Hindenburg was a thrill. For others, it was simply a way home. None of them could imagine what awaited. But airships, as majestic as they were, carried a hidden danger. They were filled with hydrogen, a gas as light as air, but more flammable than gasoline. The Hindenburg was actually supposed to use helium, a safer choice. But in 1930s America, helium was tightly controlled, and Germany was denied access to it. So hydrogen it was. And though German engineers swore it was safe, the truth still lingered, like static in the air. One spark, and everything could be lost. Still, the Hindenburg flew. Dozens of crossings, thousands of miles. She was hailed as the future of transatlantic travel, faster than ships, smoother than planes. She was the pride of Germany, the dream of the skies. And on May 3rd, 1937, she lifted off once more from Frankfurt, Germany, bound for New Jersey. A 4-day voyage across the Atlantic, a final flight that would end not in triumph, but in fire. The journey began smoothly. The giant ship rose into the sky with majestic ease. Her 97 passengers and crew were settling in for life aloft. For the wealthy, it was like sailing a cruise liner in the air. Meals were served on fine china. A jazz band played in the lounge. Passengers strode along promenades, gazing down at the Atlantic far below. But the Hindenburg was more than just a luxury liner. She was a symbol of German might. of modern progress, of a future where airships would span the globe. The passengers felt it. The crew felt it. It was history in motion. For 4 days, the Hindenburg drifted westward, steady and proud. But as the ship neared America, the weather grew tricky. Storm systems rolled across the coast. Crosswinds shifted. Delays crept into the schedule. Captain Max Pruss, an experienced commander, adjusted course, waiting for conditions to improve. On board, passengers passed the time with books, with games, and with conversation. Some wrote postcards to loved ones they'd soon embrace in New Jersey. Others leaned on the rails of the viewing decks, marveling at the ocean below. Little Werner Franz, the cabin boy, washed dishes and ran errands, never imagining that these moments would burn into his memory forever. On May 6th, after a delay of several hours, the Hindenburg finally approached the Lakehurst Naval Air Station in New Jersey. Families gathered below to greet loved ones. Reporters set up cameras to capture the majestic landing. Among them was Herbert Morrison, a young radio broadcaster. He prepared his equipment, ready to narrate another routine arrival. But what he captured instead would soon become one of the most haunting recordings in history. The Hindenburg circled the landing at 6:25 p.m., waiting for clearance. A drizzle of rain had passed. Winds shifted. Crew members dropped ballast, lightening the ship for descent. At 6:40 p.m., the great airship aligned herself for the mooring mast. Passengers pressed against the windows, eager to see the ground. Crew members prepared the landing lines. The ship floated silently, gracefully, a giant silver whale drifting into place. Then, it happened. Without warning, a flash of fire erupted near the stern. In an instant, flames raced along the skin of the ship. The Hindenburg lurched violently. Gas cells ignited like tinder. The sky itself seemed to catch fire. Below, Herbert Morrison's calm narration shattered into horror. His voice cracked, rose, broke into panic. It burst into flames. It's crashing. Oh, the humanity. His words, raw, desperate, would echo forever. Inside the airship, chaos. Passengers screamed as fire engulfed the decks. Some leapt from windows, hoping to survive the fall. Crew members tried desperately to save lives. Little Werner Franz was thrown from his station by water from a ruptured tank, soaking him, shielding him from the flames. He escaped through a hatch, running for his life. In just 34 seconds, it was over. The world's largest airship lay twisted and burning on the ground. Smoke choked the air. Bodies lay scattered amongst the wreckage. The dream of the skies have turned into a nightmare of fire. 36 lives were lost. Yet miraculously, 62 survived. Many were scarred, many broken, but still alive. Survival in that inferno was nothing short of a miracle. The Hindenburg disaster shocked the world. Newspapers splashed images of the burning wreck across front pages. Morrison's broadcast, raw and unedited, became one of the first viral recordings of modern history. The sight of flames, the sound of panic, seared into the collective memory of millions. Investigations followed. Some blamed static electricity, others suspected sabotage. The truth may never be fully known. What is certain is this: the Hindenburg burned because it was filled with hydrogen, and hydrogen burns with fury. With that fire, the age of the airship ended. No longer would luxury zeppelins glide across the Atlantic. The trust was shattered. The future of travel belonged not to airships, but to airplanes, faster, safer, and more practical. The dream of a floating palace in the sky had literally gone up in flames. Yet the Hindenburg remains with us. In film, reels of black and white horror. In the trembling voice of Herbert Morrison crying, "Oh, the humanity!" In the haunting photographs of a ship collapsing in fire. A symbol not just of disaster, but of human ambition. Of how quickly triumph can turn to tragedy. The Hindenburg was supposed to represent the future. Instead, it became a warning, a reminder that human progress often walks a tightrope between greatness and catastrophe. This was the Hindenburg disaster. Fire in the sky. Thank you for joining us. This is Past Best. Please like and subscribe for more.